Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
Good morning, Branch 32, and good morning, Naps family. My goodness, we had a lot of listeners last week. Listen to this list: Tennessee, Illinois, Texas, New York, Virginia, Kansas, Arizona, Missouri, New Jersey, Ohio, District of Columbia, Maryland, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Alaska. First time we ever had anybody listen from Alaska. Alabama, California, Washington, Wisconsin, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Massachusetts, and Michigan. Wow! Thank you so much for listening. That is so good. I'm your host, Robert Wakefield, president of Branch 32. Thank you. All right, we've got a great show lined up for you. Let's go ahead and pour that first cup. Some places call you a customer. We call you family. At the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, membership means belonging. Belonging to a community that supports you, celebrates you, and works for your financial success. If you're a postal employee or family member, you're already eligible to join. Step into a credit union with deep roots and a big heart. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our first cup this morning, we have the one, the only. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. He's the Executive Vice President of NAPS, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome back to the program, Chuck Mulidore. Chuck, how are you?
Well, I love the introduction, although I know none of that is true, but still I love hearing it. Yeah, it sounded great. I appreciate that. I'm going to remember that too. I think I'll introduce myself from that way.
I think you should. You know him, you love him. Good. You can't live without him.
That's right. Very good. I like it. Thank you, Robert. Great to be on. Appreciate it.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, we wanted to get you on because I took the podcast equipment up to LTS with me. And it was so funny because what it was, Kevin Proctor was my runner. And so he would go get people and bring them down to the first floor. That's where we were. And so I said, okay, go get Chuck. And so he'd go up there, you'd be at the podium. So he grabbed Ivan. And then, so I interviewed Ivan. Right. And then I said, okay, go get Chuck. Okay, he won't be busy this time, and you'd be back at the podium again. So it just didn't work out that I could talk to you while we were there.
Yeah, Monday, it was a tough day, and it was a very challenging day because, as you know, the schedule kept changing.
Oh, it changed.
Because we had weather conditions in the D.C. area. Flights are getting canceled. We had a snowstorm in the Midwest, and one of the congressmen that was coming, Congressman Bergman from he's from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He was snowed in. He couldn't get out, so he was scheduled to speak with us. So things kept changing because of the changing weather conditions, and so it was just one of those days. But we adjusted well, but it kept me pretty busy there at the front of the room for sure.
It certainly kept you in the forefront, that's for sure.
Yeah,
well, I want to talk to you about that because planning an LTS falls squarely on the executive vice president, if I understand that right.
That's correct.
And so,
I would say that Ivan and Jimmy are a part of it. I mean, so I don't want to say it's strictly on me, but for the most part, after having done it for 5 years, it pretty much falls on me. But Jimmy's and Ivan are always a part of what we do, so we're all on the same page. But so really, it starts for me. We have to get the wreath laying set, and that's the first piece of it. So the way the wreath laying works is you can't request it until 6 months exactly before the date you plan to have the wreath laying ceremony.
Oh, okay.
So that for us was we wanted it on March the 15th, which was Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. So it takes us back to September the 16th or 15th.
Okay.
So at 12 midnight, I'm on there because it's tough to get those spots. So you start logging in about 10 to 12, 5 to 12. At midnight, about 12:02, I finally got through. Wow. And there was one slot available out of the 4 that you get. and that was 12:15. So you got to really be on top of it. So that's kind of where we start at. So 5 or 6 months out, we start the planning for it, and then we go from there. So we always build our Sunday program around the wreath laying.
Okay, yeah, the wreath laying at Arlington Cemetery at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, that is one of the coolest things that happens.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really great.
I think it's one of the best things we do, certainly around LTS, to honor the veterans that we have.
Amen.
So many veterans, and it's such a dramatic place. It really brings home the sacrifice of service members over the generations that have given their lives to make sure that we're all continue to live the way we live. So, and that we can honor veterans in our own organization, to me, it's unique to us. And it's a great honor for me to even be a part of it. So it is a great thing that we do.
So after you plan the wreath laying, I guess the rest of the schedule starts falling into place. You have to get speakers to come in, and this year you had the Postmaster General. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, because a lot of us haven't met him. Ivan had met him for a meeting, an introductory meeting. I had not met him. Jimmy had not met him.
Okay.
So it was a great opportunity for him to. He's a very personable individual, as you could, I think, see at the podium, and indicate, he definitely wanted to come and speak to the group. And there's some logistics to work out with his schedule and so forth, and we did all that. And I really appreciated him coming. And he picks his time. Like I don't tell him, you will be here at 10 o'clock. We don't do it that way. He picks the time, and we build a Monday schedule around when he can be available. It's usually in the morning, and it was no different this year.
Right.
And so we had him there at 8:45. I actually got there a little bit early. But we do we do the opening ceremonies, and we kind of build all that into the main speaker, who this time was the PMG. So it was great to have him there. I think his message, from the feedback I got, was very positively received. They're a more upbeat message. It's a tough time for the post office, as we know.
Right.
But he had an upbeat message, not kind of different than what we heard from the last Postmaster General.
Right, exactly.
A little different type of message, a little different delivery. So I thought he went over very well. We got a lot of positive feedback about it. In fact, the next day, one of the individuals who works at headquarters called me back and said, we got good feedback from sources outside of your organization that he did very, very well too. So it was good to hear.
Well, that is good to hear. So let's talk a little bit about the LTS itself. Once you get into the training, how do you guys come up with what training is going to be available? Because it's always fascinating when I go to every year. It's really good.
Yeah. And that's the value of having Bob Levy work with us, because Bob has such a wealth of talent and knowledge that he brings to the table. So we kind of start with the theme. And once we find our theme and we have our main thing set in place, the wreath laying ceremony Monday, we build our Sunday schedule around that. We build our Monday schedule. So we kind of tie it to, like this year, we were tying it to the midterms, which are a very important midterm election this year. So for us as an organization, for the Postal Service as well. So we kind of built our message around that. And I came upon our Voices Are Power from last year at the rally we held.
Right.
And that was such a powerful moment for our organization. And we've heard from members of Congress that was kind of the last gasp of this privatization talk that was going on at the time. If you remember last year, great amount of talk about privatization of the post office going on.
Right. And
that rally we had out there in front of the Capitol, I think, is what kind of put the last nail in that coffin for now.
Right.
And so we kind of built our theme this year about our voice is our power, and because we saw that last year. So it's the same idea this year. Let's take our voice into the midterms and advocate for the Postal Service as well as for our organization. So then we just kind of build training around that. Bob does a fantastic job of that. And we try to find our speakers. This year we had, and I always try to do Republicans and Democrats because we don't favor one side or the other. And this year we had a good mix, although Congressman Bergman was not able to come. Him and Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski, they founded something called the House Postal Caucus.
Right.
And it's one Republican, one Democrat. They never get lopsided. It's always one for one. And it's become actually a very good vehicle to speak about the post office. That they had a hearing that Ivan our national president attended the hearing that they had and spoke on behalf of NAPS and the Postal Service. So we had both of them scheduled. Of course, Congressman Bergman was unable to come because he got snowed in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then I thought we did very well with Congressman Walkinshaw, who's from Northern Virginia. He was at his office, and it was in the middle of a really wicked thunderstorm, and he called his wife and said, "Hey, I'm going to go over to this meeting a little bit early." And she said, "You're crazy. You're not going to go to that meeting." And he said, "I'm going to go," because they asked me to go. So he said, I want you to know I came here at the expense of my wife's best intentions." So we definitely appreciated him for doing that.
Yeah, that's taking one for the team, isn't it?
Right. And I thought Congressman Langworthy from Buffalo, who fortunately was not in Buffalo where it was snowed. Mm-hmm. He was in New York and was able to get there. And I thought he wound up a Republican from Buffalo. I thought he wound up the whole event on a really high note. He did a very great job. So we try to build it in that bipartisan sense because there is no partisan issue for us. We advocate for NAPS and the post office, and whoever is doing that, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, that's who we work with, and that's who we want to see elected to these positions in the upcoming midterms.
Exactly right. Well, I thought the whole thing went off really well. Tell me what your comments that you've been receiving after we all went to the Hill.
You know what I thought was so great about the Hill was that we've gotten hundreds of pictures back, and many people actually got to meet with their congressman or senator.
Oh, that's neat.
Often it's meeting with staff and so forth, but we have just a ton of pictures for the magazine of people meeting with their congressman, and that's very valuable. And I think and we've seen congressmen posting on their own Facebook pages, was happy to meet with the National Association of Postal Supervisors branch, whatever it was. And so that even got us more attention for that. And I always tell them, now that you've met with your congressman here in Washington, D.C., go back home and meet with them again.
Exactly.
Establish that relationship and that rapport, because they're in their home district more than they're in D.C.
Right.
And you're a constituent. They want to talk to you. They want to hear from you. So it's a great opportunity to build that relationship. So I thought we had a lot of great feedback from the Congress people we met, as well as the delegates who met. It was very positive. It was a very positive day on the Hill, so I was really pleased with that.
That's good. And tell me, I don't even know the answer to this question because I don't know that it was announced. How many people attended LTS this year? Do you know?
We had about 430 total.
Okay.
Which was down a little bit. I know we had the national convention this year in San Francisco, so I think from what I heard from branches, they sent someone, but maybe sending 2 or 3 or 4, they sent 1 or 2.
Exactly.
So we were down a little bit from previous year, but still, and we kind of built that into our calculations because we knew San Francisco would be a little bit more of an expensive convention than we've had in recent times, because the city itself is a little bit more of an expensive city to have a convention in. So we built that into the program and built that into our planning. So, but I still thought it was an excellent turnout.
Well, that's good. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great turnout.
Yeah,
I really did.
Yeah, everyone came there. They were involved, as they always are. And they hit that hill, man. They take it serious. Now that I went to the Postmaster General's testimony that day on the Hill, so I was there. I knew we had some filter in and out of the hearing room that day, in between their visits or before or after their visits,
right?
Which I thought was really good too. And some people had never seen a congressional committee meeting before, so they were kind of, excited about that as well. So
yeah, that's a great thing to get to see.
Yeah.
It was really cold that day. I remember how cold it was. Good gracious.
Well, for folks from Tennessee, it was definitely a cold day.
Oh, man.
And we had folks from California, all over the country. So it was a cold and windy day, but as it often is here in March, it's a cold and windy place sometimes. So, but they hit the hill and they got their message across, and that's what matters.
That is exactly right. That's what it's all about. Well, I tell you what, I thought LTS went without a hitch as far as organization is concerned. Everything moved along smoothly. We got our materials we needed. The booklets that you guys who puts those booklets together? That's amazing.
You know who does that for us?
I do know.
We put all the information in. Karen Young, the publisher of our magazine, she has all those put together for us.
Oh, well, she does a great job.
And it's just, and when you contrast that to the other organization that's on the Hill, They brought a couple of pieces of paper, which is okay. That's how they do it. But our booklet, I think, just stands out, and it makes you want to look at it. I see that the staff and the congressman look at that. They say, well, it has a lot of information in it. It talks about the organization, what our issues are, who we are. And I think it makes a big difference. So, yeah, Karen does a great job for us. We're going to miss her. She's retiring at the national convention. So,
is she really?
We're definitely going to miss. Yeah, we're going to miss Karen. She does a great job for us. But I'm sure the next person we bring in will do equally well once they get to know us. But yeah. And again, Bob, I can't really just say enough about Bob Levy and the work he puts into that and the relationships that he has on the Hill that are just very valuable for us. I always say we punch above our weight, because we're a small pack, and we're a big fish in a big pond now. Mm-hmm. And because we've just put a lot of hard work into being on the Hill, getting our messaging across, going to fundraisers, going to meetings, going to different things, and it's paid off for us in a big way, I think.
I think so, too. I think it does. Well, Chuck, I am so glad that you were able to come on today to record. And I've been asking everyone, and so I'll ask you as well, the very serious question, what is your favorite sandwich?
Well, I like any kind of Italian sandwich that's got provolone cheese on it, some Italian ham, some peppers and tomatoes. I'm all in for that. So whoever makes one, I'm there. So I love it.
I've asked everyone that we were at LTS that question, and Robert McMurray, who's out of Knoxville, came up with the greatest one: chicken salad on white bread. Come on!
Oh my goodness!
My goodness! You've got to have more.
That's too easy, man. Yeah.
It's like saying PBJ is your favorite sandwich. Come on! What's wrong with that guy? Chuck, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
I appreciate it, Robert. I appreciate what you do with the podcast and the audience that you reach, so we can get this message out. So thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again.
Okay. Talk soon.
To the people who keep our mail moving, rain, shine, and everything in between, we see you. And at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, we're proud to serve you. Since 1925, we've been the financial home for postal employees and their families, offering fair rates, personal service, and a team that understands the work you do. Because you deliver for everyone, and we're here to deliver for you. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. And for our second cup today, I've been asking this question to everyone that I've interviewed, so let me ask you, the listener. What is your favorite sandwich? That's right. I know you have one. Is it as exciting as a chicken salad sandwich on white bread? I hope it's more exciting than that, but if it's not, if that's what it is, that's what it is. So send me your favorite sandwich. You can go to napsbranch32.org and reply on the chat button at the bottom right-hand corner. Or you can send that to SaturdayCupOfJoe@gmail.com. Be sure to include your first name and what branch you are from. And we will review your favorite sandwich on the Saturday Cup of Joe. That's going to do it today for the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. Be sure to share this, like this, do whatever you need to do with this podcast to get this thing growing. Okay, share it with all your friends. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupOfJoe@gmail.com.